it's me, Tochi, your sister. I came all the way from our bar. Please, look at me.
Let go of me. I don't know you. Who is this mad lady? Leave me.
You don't know me? I sold bread for you. Every morning, on these crutches, in the rain, on that road. I did it for you. How can you not know me?
I said I don't know her.
Amara, why?
You found Omega Native Tales, and trust me, that's not by accident. Every story here is raw, real, and will touch something deep inside you. Before I take you in, subscribe if you haven't, like this video, and share it, because some stories are too powerful to keep to yourself. Now let's begin the story.
Abba did not slow down for anyone, not for the traders who had been standing since 5 in the morning, not for the bus drivers who leaned on their horns like it was a language, and certainly not for Tochi. She was on Azikiwe Road by 6:30, her bread tray balanced carefully as she moved between parked tricycles and rushing pedestrians. Her crutches hit the ground in a familiar rhythm. Tap, step, tap, step. A sound she had heard so many times it no longer registered as difficulty. It was simply how she moved. How she had always moved since the accident that took the full use of her left leg when she was 11. Bread, fresh bread, butter bread, coconut bread. Her voice was strong even when her body wasn't. She was 27, though people who saw her tired eyes sometimes guessed older. Her face still held beauty, high cheekbones, dark smooth skin, but there were shadows beneath her eyes that rest alone could not fix. The month's school fees were due in 2 weeks. She had counted her savings the night before, sitting on the floor on their one-room apartment with a kerosene lamp throwing orange light across the naira notes she had spread out carefully. It wasn't enough. It was never quite enough on the first count. But Tochi had learned to find money in places most people forgot to look. An extra shift, a bulk order from a provision store, a customer who ordered a dozen loaves for a function. She would find a way. She always did. Her phone buzzed in the pocket of her skirt. Amara. She smiled before she even answered. Hello? Amara, good morning. Sister, please, my assignment is due and I need to print. The cafe is 1,000 naira and I don't have it. Tochi closed her eyes briefly, then opened them. Okay, I'll send it. She had 300 naira left in her mobile wallet. She flagged down a bus, chasing it 6 steps on her crutches before it stopped. Bread tray steady, breathing hard. She would sell more today. She had to. Night came the way it always did in their neighborhood. Suddenly, with the light flickering once before the power went out entirely. Tochi lit the kerosene lamp and set it on a small table that served as dining table, study desk, and prayer altar all at once. She poured cold water over the garri in her bowl, added 2 cubes of sugar because granite had finished 2 days ago, and began to eat while she counted. The bread sales had been decent, not excellent, decent. She spread the notes on the table. 2 500s, 3 200, a fistful of 50s and 20s. She counted twice, pressing each note flat with her thumb, the way her late mother used to do. 14,300 naira. Amara's fees were 22,000 naira. She wrote the number down on a piece of paper, underlined it and stared at it. Then she wrote 14,300 beneath it and stared at that too, as though the gap between the two figures might shrink if she looked long enough. It didn't. She ate a spoonful of garri. It was watery and too sweet, and she didn't complain about it to anyone because there was no one to complain to. The room was quiet in the way that only one person's room could be quiet. Amara's corner, A mattress on the floor, with a wrapper folded at the foot, had been empty for almost 2 years. Tochi kept it neat, out of habit, or maybe out of hope that one day Amara would come back and find it ready. She pulled out her notebook. At the top of the page, she had written a plan, the way she had written plans every month since Amara left for university. Projected earnings, expenses, what to cut, what to push. She could increase tomorrow's batch, borrow 2,000 naira from Mama Chuku down the street. The woman had lent her before, and she always paid back. Tochi tore out a fresh page and began again. She would make it work. Outside, a cat knocked something off a fence, and the night went quiet again. She dipped her spoon into the garri bowl and kept eating. The calls always came at inconvenient moments. The first one that week came when Tochi was in the middle of negotiating with a new provision store owner who might agree to stock her bread on commission. She had been standing outside his shop for 20 minutes, crutches pressing into her palms, making her case calmly and clearly. Her phone rang. Amara. She held up one finger to the man and stepped aside. Amara, I am in the middle of something. Sister, please. They say we must buy another textbook. It's 5,000. The exam is next week and I can't borrow my roommate's copy forever. Tochi exhaled. Okay, let me finish here. I'll call you back. She went back to the provision store owner and closed the deal. Then she walked to the nearest transfer point and set Amara 4,000 naira, all she had available, and told her to manage the rest from her friend. The second call came 3 days later, midnight. Sister, there's a departmental dinner. Everybody is going. The contribution is 2,000. Tochi was already in bed, her crutches leaning against the wall. Amara, it is midnight. I know, I just didn't want to forget to tell you. She sent the money the next morning before she went out to sell. The third call that week was a Saturday. Tochi had just sat down after a long day, feet aching, armpit raw from the crutches. She had sold well that day, better than usual, and she was allowing herself 5 minutes of stillness before starting the evening count. Sister, all my friends are going to a restaurant tomorrow. Can you send me 3,000? Tochi held the phone in both hands. How are your studies, Amara? A small pause. Fine, I'm doing well. Good. She transferred 2,000 naira. Use it well. She put the phone down and leaned her head against the wall. From somewhere outside, a generator coughed to life and the neighborhood filled again with sound. Tochi picked up her notebook and began the evening count. It was a Thursday in March when Tochi nearly lost everything. She had taken on an order, 20 loaves, for a naming ceremony and was transporting them in a large basin, balanced on her head when the commercial bus she had flagged down began to pull away before she was fully in. Wait! She called out, her crutch catching on the bus step. She stumbled. The bread tray tilted. The basin lodged. 6 loaves fell into the dust of the road. And though she barely caught herself on the side of the bus before it stopped, passengers said, some hissed. A woman near the front said something under her breath that made the people laugh beside her. Tochi did not look at them. She climbed in slowly, collected her things, sat down, and pressed the loaves back into shape with quiet, careful hands. She told herself that 5 of the 6 were still sellable. She told herself that the woman who laughed probably had her own problems. She got off at her stop, walked to the naming ceremony house, and delivered 20 loaves at full price. Only she knew that 5 of them had spent a moment in the red dust of Azikiwe Road. On the walk home, she passed a mirror in the window of a shop and caught her reflection. She stopped. She didn't look at herself often, not because she was ashamed, but because there was really time. Now, she looked, really looked. The crutches, the tired set of her shoulders, the yellow blouse that had been washed. So many times the color had moved from bright to pale. Her face, which was still her mother's face, still strong and sharp, but carrying something heavy behind the eyes. She thought about Amara, Amara at university, Amara in lectures, Amara becoming something. She straightened her shoulders. That's what this is for. She turned away from the mirror and kept walking, crutches steady on the road, one foot following the other, the way they always had, the way they would follow again. 270 kilometers away, Amara was laughing. The restaurant was small but nice. Plastic roses on the tables, a television mounted high on the wall, playing music videos. Her friends were four in number, all dressed well, all loud and bright the way 22 years old in university can be when the world feels like it belongs to them. Amara, you have to try the pepper soup here, her friend Blessing said, already signaling the waiter. Amara leaned back in her chair. She was wearing a new coral blouse, off-shoulder, that she had bought from a boutique near campus the previous week. Her nails were done. Her braids were fresh. She looked exactly like the kind of girl she had always wanted to be. Order for me, she told Blessing, waving her hand casually. They ate, talked, and took photographs that they would post later with captions about living their best lives. Amara laughed the loudest. She always did. Nobody at that table knew where the money came from. Nobody knew about a woman on crutches chasing buses in Aba. Nobody knew about garri dinners and kerosene lamps and a notebook filled with tight, careful numbers. Amara had never mentioned her sister's disability to any of her school friends. When they asked about family, she said it was complicated and changed the subject. It wasn't that she wasn't entirely without guilt. Sometimes, late at night, when her roommates were asleep, she would lie on her bed and think of Tochi counting money on the floor. She would feel something pull at her chest, something that felt like shame if she let herself name it. But she never let herself name it for long. She had not asked to be the one who got to go to school. That had been Tochi's decision, Tochi's sacrifice. Amara had simply accepted what was offered. Hadn't she? She turned over on her bed, pulled her blanket up, and went to sleep. The calls stopped in November. At first, Tochi didn't worry. Final exams, she told herself. Amara was busy. Final year was serious. She sent a message. How are you? Hope exams are going well. Amara replied with a thumbs up emoji and nothing more. December came. No calls. Tochi sent a Christmas message. Amara replied 3 days later. Merry Christmas. Nothing more. January. Nothing. By February, Tochi had stopped telling herself not to worry. She was worried, deeply, quietly, persistently worried, in the way only a person who has already lost everything once can be worried about losing one more thing. She called. Amara's number rang, and then went to voicemail. She called again the next day. Voicemail. She sent a message. Amara, please talk to me. Are you okay? Blue ticks, no reply. Tochi sat with this for several weeks, trying to make sense of it. Had something happened? Was Amara sick? Embarrassed about something? Angry at her for some reason? She didn't understand? She asked a woman she knew in Port Harcourt if she had any contact near Oka, the university town, who might make enquiries. The woman said she would try and then didn't come back to her. Tochi went about her days. She sold bread. She counted her sales. She drank garri. She woke up and did it again. But something in the apartment felt different now. Amara's empty corner felt less like weighty and more like absence. There is a difference, though it is hard to explain. One night in March, Tochi sat on the floor in the dark after the kerosene finished, and she had no more to pour. She held her phone and looked at Amara's name on the screen. She had no more messages left to send. She made a decision. She would go to Oka and find her sister herself. She left on a Tuesday morning with a small bag, one change of clothes, her money pouch, her phone charger, a sachet of pain relief for her joints, and took the first bus to Aba Motor Park. The journey to Oka was long. She changed buses twice. The second bus was crowded, and the conductor, a young man with impatient eyes, almost told her there was no room before a woman in the middle seat shifted and made space. Tochi thanked her quietly and held her crutches between her knees for 3 hours. She arrived in Oka by midday. The university gate was painted blue and white, and students moved around it with the particular looseness of people between classes, unhurried, talking, some with earphones, some with food. Nobody looked at Tochi twice. She was just a woman with crutches walking toward the information desk. The woman at the desk was helpful enough. She looked up at the name, Amara Okonkwo, Mass Communication, 2023 set. She graduated, the woman said, last convocation. Tochi blinked. Last convocation? When was that? September. So, 6 months ago. 6 months? For 6 months, Amara had been a graduate and said nothing. Do you have any contact? No. We can't give out student information, the woman said, but not unkindly. Tochi thanked her and walked out. She stood in the university compound, the afternoon sun pressing down on her shoulders, and tried to think. She could ask students who knew Amara. She could go to the department. She could ask around. She went to the mass communication department. She found a final year student who recognized Amara's name, and then the student's face did something, a small flicker of expression that she quickly rearranged into blackness. I think, the student said carefully, I think there's a wedding tomorrow for someone from this department. She gave Tochi the venue. Tochi found a cheap guest house and spent the night sitting up on the narrow bed, her crutches against the wall, her mind running through 100 versions of how tomorrow might go. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe it was a different Amara. Maybe her sister was getting married and had been too overwhelmed, too swept up in preparations to call. Maybe the moment Tochi walked in, Amara would gasp and cry and hold her to say, Sister, I was going to call you. I was going to invite you. I am so sorry. I was going to. Yes, Tochi told herself that is how it will go. She pressed her hands together and prayed. In the morning, she put on her best wrapper and the yellow blouse she had washed and ironed flat the night before. She combed her hair carefully. She rubbed her face with a small compound of powder that was almost finished. She looked at herself in the narrow mirror on the guest house wall. You look fine, she told herself. She took a tricycle to the wedding venue, a hall in the decent part of town with a parking compound and a white canopy that spilled out to the gate. Chairs were being arranged. Women in Ashebi moved purposefully. Then, Tochi saw the banner. It was mounted on a stand near the gate, tall and colorful, the kind that wedding photographers set up for photographs. And there, in large print, were two faces side by side, Mr. Emeka Obi and Miss Amara Okonkwo, joining in holy matrimony. Tochi stopped walking. That was Amara's face, larger than life, smooth, happy, beautiful. The same face Tochi had washed when Amara had chicken pox. The same face that had cried into Tochi's chest when their uncle threw them out into the streets. Tochi stood at the gate, crutches in the sand, looking at the banner for a long time. Then she walked inside. She waited. She sat at the far edge of the compound on a plastic chair someone offered her, her crutches beside her, her bag on her lap. Guests arrived around her in waves, colorful, loud, fragrant with perfume. The MC was testing the microphone. Children chased each other near the drinks table. A woman in a gold head tie complimented another woman's shoe. Life moved all around Tochi. She watched the gate, Just before noon, a black car pulled in slowly, draped in white ribbon, and the compound shifted. Music changed. Guests turned. Someone began to spray, and the car door opened. Amara stepped out. White gown, long trail, veil, a bouquet of cream flowers held in both hands. Her makeup was perfect. Her smile was the smile Tochi had spent 5 years working to protect. Tochi stood up. She moved through the crowd steadily, people parting slightly for her crutches without thinking about it. Her heart was pounding, but her face was calm. She was almost crying before she even reached her. Not from sadness, not yet, but from sheer overwhelming exhausted relief. She's okay. She's alive. She's standing right here. Amara. Her voice came out soft. Amara was laughing at something a bridesmaid had said. She turned at the sound of the voice, and for one fraction of a second, Tochi saw it. Her face opened. Recognition. The real kind. The kind you cannot rehearse or perform. Then it closed like a door. Who is this woman? Amara said, to no one in particular, to everyone. The bridesmaids looked. Guests nearby turned. Tochi felt the staring before she understood what was happening. Amara, louder now. Amara, it is me, Tochi, your sister. I don't know her, Amara said, and turned away, licking her arm through her grooms. Tochi stood in the middle of the compound. Amara, her voice broke. Amara, please. Nne, it is me. I sold bread for you. But the music was getting louder, and Amara was walking away. What do you think will happen next? If you would like to know, comment part 2 in the comment section. Also, do well to subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next part.